All right. Welcome, everyone, to our Zoom talk about a holistic approach to a good night's sleep. I'm Sophie Alexander. I'm the lead practitioner and owner of the Nutritional Wellness Center of Ithaca. And I'm excited to share with you today about this because it's such an important topic. So many people are struggling with their sleep. And it's so important to our health, as I'll go into in a moment. But before I launch into that, for those of you who don't know me, I just wanted to introduce myself. Um, so I have been practicing clinical nutritionist for about 8 years now, and have been working to take care of my own body through nutritional changes for at least the past 12 years, even 15 years. Little bit of background. I mean, I definitely now in retrospect can track back to when I was quite young and certain health conditions began, such as allergies and digestive issues and hormonal imbalances. But it wasn't really until I got to college and the digestive issues came quite severe, so bad that I was having to lie down after eating. Um, and then when I graduated undergrad and got Lyme disease, then things really started to snowball, and I recognized that I was having health issues. And it was after the Lyme became chronic and I was dealing with arthritic issues, that I started seeking alternative answers because just the conventional treatments were not getting me anywhere. And that eventually led to my path of becoming a client at the Nutritional Wellness Center 12 years ago. And then going back to school for a master's degree in nutrition, and then becoming a practitioner, and then 2 years ago buying the practice. So I very passionate about what I do, and I'm excited to share what I learn with you. Sleep issues, as a mother of three, are now near and dear to my heart. I didn't used to struggle with it so much, but I see it with a lot of clients, and I see a lot of patterns. So we will be getting more into that. Um, Through clinical practice, I've really seen that there are so many reasons that people have sleep issues. And what we need to find out is why it's happening for that individual, because really anything can cause anything. And you'll see that theme as I go into it. It's just not one certain reason why the body is not properly going into a sleep cycle at night. But yes, we have insomnia and sleep apnea, restless legs, feeling tired after getting enough sleep, waking up in the middle of the night, not being able to fall back asleep, trouble falling asleep in the first place. There's just so many reasons that these ways that these sleep issues um, trouble us, right, and impact our health. Um, and yeah, they are really important to get to the bottom of, because then the body's actually able to truly heal and repair. And as I mentioned earlier, it really is detrimental to the body when you're not sleeping well. Sleep time is for our bodies to cleanse. It's time for our body to repair. It's time for our body to integrate everything that's happened during the day. So when you don't sleep well, it's a major stress on the body. It can lead to weight gain, to premature aging, to hair loss, hormone imbalances, fertility issues, lowered immune function. The list really does go on. Um, and um, and as I know from having outside factors impact my sleep, small children up at all hours, things like that, it starts, the longer it goes on, the more your body starts to fall apart. And thus it's really important to get to the bottom of. And so if you have outside factors like a cat that wakes you up all the time, or I've had clients struggling because they have an elderly sick dog, these things like that, understood those are specific circumstances and hopefully not very long term. But the more long term it is, um, the more we need to figure out and remedy it. All right. So this is the Chinese clock, and this is a pattern I see a lot when I'm talking and working with clients with sleep disruptions. So these are a lot of the body's detox organs. And I find that especially folks who are struggling to fall back asleep or waking up at certain hours in the night and then struggling to fall back asleep, that this Chinese clock really correlates with areas that I pick up on with the nutrition response testing body scan. So I often find that underlying causes for sleep issues are um, are imbalances, particularly having to do with certain organ systems working to repair themselves or working to run their cycles at night. Um, and so a very common one is liver, right? I have many clients who'll come in and say, I wake up anytime between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., or I'm up at 2:30 on the dot every night. Um, and so often that is liver time. So liver at night uses the nighttime to run just its inherent detoxification cycles and pathways. And it can wake you up. Liver is also a big organ that when you're not eating regularly, right, because you're not eating while you're sleeping, it helps keep your body in a steady stream. Oh dear, am I? Okay, I think I'm still on Zoom and recording. I just got a weird message from Zoom. Hopefully all is okay. Um, so I was just saying, oh yes, so your liver does a huge part of maintaining blood sugar balance while you are sleeping. And so also that 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. time, people popping awake, having trouble falling back asleep can be due to the fact that the body has run out of the glucose that you had from your dinner and you're switching over to the liver, breaking down its glycogen stores and turning the back into glucose to maintain your blood sugar balance. And it doesn't go so well. And then it pops you awake. And sometimes having a snack at that time can help you fall back asleep. Another little tip is actually having protein, either a good amount of protein with your dinner or having a protein-based snack before going to bed can help with those blood sugar imbalances um, while not stop them from happening at night. Um, all right. Yeah, so you can see gallbladder time and liver time, lung time, large intestine, stomach. Triple burner time, I must admit, I'm not as familiar with. It's a really specific term to Chinese medicine. It has to do with some certain meridians of the body. The biggest themes I see are liver, lung, and large intestine, which I find are all interconnected. And yep, it makes a big difference when we start working on those systems. So toxicities, I find connecting back to seeing that liver pattern a lot. Toxicities are a lot of what I see. The underlying reason why folks are struggling to stay asleep at night. So mold toxicity can be a big one. Molds and the toxins that molds release called mycotoxins. When you have a water damaged building, you work in a water damaged building, or you have a water damaged building that you're sleeping in, can again, stressing liver, stressing lungs, contributing to you waking up in the night and not able to settle back to sleep. Also, a whole variety of other toxicities. I mean, we are exposed to so many different chemicals just in our day-to-day life. There's over 80,000 chemicals in use in the United States. Very few are regulated. One of the biggest ones is glyphosate, which is in pesticide Roundup, and even is in so much wheat, corn, and soy, just used in either during the process of growing or getting foods ready for harvest. And even when you eat all organic, you still are getting a pesticide exposure, just not as much because pesticides are airborne and they're in the water, things like that. And so our bodies can easily get overwhelmed. And I see that happen. It just accumulates over a course of someone's life. And then they suddenly are having real trouble falling asleep and staying asleep. And as we dig into it, it's because of these toxicities. So as much as you can do to lower your toxicities, exposure through eating organic, through you using clean personal care products, through looking into your drinking water. And if you're on city water or even on a well water, using filters, it can make a tremendous difference. So parasites. All right. So parasites are much more common than people think, right? Even there's a statement from the CDC that about 70% of US citizens deal with parasites. Many of us don't know about it, right? They're not just, you go on a trip to a foreign country and you come back with a bug. They can easily come from water and from food, passed among pets or from family members to other family members. And they are more active at night. I mean, your body is working on your immune system while you're sleeping. It can suppress immune system. A lot of parasites are nocturnal, and thus they're more active while you're asleep. I don't know if any of you have dealt with sleeplessness around the full moon, but parasites are more active during the full moon, and so that can also often be why that happens. This is usually a big thing behind children and sleep disruptions in children, and bedwetting in children who have already been potty trained, can be the bugs. And uh, yeah, it can be quite amazing. You get the bugs back under control, suddenly starts sleeping again. I love it. I had that happen with one of my children, um, and she was just up at 1 like every night, on the dot, and it was exhausting. But we got the bugs under control, and she started sleeping through. So hormonal imbalances can be a big part of sleep problems, because they're not due to it's not just what's happening at night, right? It's how your body is moving through all its circadian rhythms throughout the day that manifest in these problems at night. So I know folks are like, oh, I'm just going to take some melatonin and that helps knock me out. But it does melatonin, or your body's own production of melatonin depends on proper hormone function during your waking hours. And the endocrine system, which is your hormonal system, is quite complicated. And so hormonal imbalances, lead to poor sleep, and then poor sleep can lead to further hormonal balances. So it can be a vicious cycle. Um, and a lot of this can stem from stress hormones, right? So it's stress hormones um, keep your body more in a fight or flight mode, right? That's your sympathetic nervous system, your get up and go mode. And then that makes, when you have an excess of that in your body, and your body's struggling to flush that out, kind of because you're in chronic stress, your body then is not doing as good a job of getting into rest and repair, which is called your parasympathetic mode. And I see this a lot with folks who are, they're exhausted. They're go, go, go all day long. You would think with the type of day that they're having and how much they're juggling, and in general, how exhausted they are getting through their day, that they would just lie down at night and pass right out. But the body is then struggling to shift into that rest and repair. They're just so on and so wired, unless they have a very hard time falling asleep. So clinically, I see this a lot stemming from your adrenal glands, and the adrenal glands are little glands that sit on top of the kidneys and make all those stress hormones. And they have a very interconnected feedback with the brain, with the thyroid, and so it starts to create other hormone imbalances. The adrenals are really what help women through the menopause transition, because as the body stops making as many sex hormones on its own, it's the adrenals that take over that sex hormone production. And so this can be a big underlying reason for why women start to deal with sleep issues as they're becoming perimenopausal, menopausal. It can be reasons behind the night sweats and things like that disrupt sleeping. And to further create a mess of it, the toxicities are often endocrine, meaning hormonal disruptors as well. So you can have another reason why the hormonal system is struggling is because the toxicities are creating barriers with those hormone points being able to heal and repair themselves, all those glands to be able to heal and repair themselves. Um, and so again, it becomes this downward slope of the body just not being able to get into that rest and repair. Um, and you feel worse and worse. You feel crankier and crankier and have a harder time functioning. And um, yeah, and don't sleep as well in general. So things you can do to optimize your sleep. So here's a few foods that just inherently help improve sleep. Healthy fats. So what I mean by healthy fats are extra virgin olive oil, butter, ghee, coconut oil, avocado oil. Those are a lot of my favorites. Um, High antioxidant foods, right? So blueberries are a great one with that. Green tea, another high oxidant food. Red wine is often put in this group, but I would not recommend red wine. Actually, it tends, because impacting the liver so much, it really tends to disrupt sleep. Find alcohol in general does, and so don't put red wine in that high antioxidant group. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the high quality protein, especially at dinner, right? And a protein-based snack before going to bed. That can be a bit more meat. I've had clients have success, particularly with turkey, because it's high in a certain amino acid called tryptophan, which can cause sleepiness, right? Ever know, have a huge turkey feast with Thanksgiving and then feel sleepy after. It can be due to that. But again, a lot of these tools are tools, especially the healthy fats and the proteins, are tools that help to balance blood sugar. And the more balanced your blood sugar is through the day, the better energy you have, more alert you feel, and the better balanced your blood sugar is at night while you're sleeping. And thus, yeah, it can be a really deep, restful sleep. So things to avoid, right? Foods to avoid if you're struggling with sleep issues. Again, tie back to blood sugar balance a ton, right? So refined sugars, refined carbohydrates. So that can be particularly any breads or pastas or crackers, things that break down into the sugar quickly in the body. Grains in general, because they're overconsumed and overprocessed and generally significantly contaminated with pesticides. And for all those reasons, they impact, they increase toxicity levels, and they impact blood sugar negatively. And then the vegetable oil. So as I was just talking about how helpful healthy fats are, vegetable oils are really unhelpful. Vegetable oils are canola oils, corn oils, soy oils, sunflower oils, safflower oils. They're a lot of the oils that are used tremendously commercially. They're in most processed foods. They're used in most restaurants, and they're not stable when heated. And so they are very inflammatory to the body, uh, and they basically bog down our liver and our bile ducts because our body does not know how to break them down properly, and especially due to the rancidity. And so they contribute significantly to the congestion of the liver that I find is a significant underlying reason why people are not sleeping well. So some of my favorite supplements to improve sleep naturally can be magnesiums. You get magnesium mostly from your green leafy vegetables. It's very high in spinach and in Swiss chard. It can be high in pumpkin seeds too. I mean, there are several foods that are high in magnesiums. Those are some of the best sources. But magnesium gets depleted, gosh, because very easily, because it's used in so many different pathways in the body, um, and it very much gets depleted when the body's in a stressed state. So I really like magnesium lactate or magnesium glycinate. These are forms that don't tend to impact the bowels so much. Some people might have experience with magnesium where they take it and then all of a sudden they have diarrhea because it's impacting the bowels, but the whole body needs to absorb it. I particularly like using a form that's literally made out of um, buckwheat and Swiss chard juice. Right, so that's wonderful because it's a whole food version of magnesium coming straight from those foods. And clients can take it in the evening, and it just helps to relax the body. It helps fall asleep and stay asleep. Big fan of fish oils too, as a natural sleep aid, particularly for falling asleep. There are certain formulations of fish oils that are accommodative to the brain, relaxing to the nervous system. And it comes back to that broader theme of how a lot of people are eating more inflammatory diets, too much sugar, too many grains, and not enough vegetables, not enough good fats, especially not enough fats coming from fish, um, which are higher in these omega-6 fatty acids and do help to relax the nervous system. And so supplementing with fish oils before bed also really successful in helping people to just settle down to sleep. Ashwagandha is one of my favorite, what's called adaptogenic herbs. It's a category of herbs um, that help the body and individuals adapt to stress and become more resilient in the face of stress. Ashwagandha has been used in Ayurvedic, which is a form of medicine in India for so many years. And it's very safe. And for some folks, it's relaxing enough that they do feel sleepy with it. Other folks, no, not at all, but they feel an overall more resiliency, more adaptability, more ability to handle the day-to-day life stressors. And and that then allows them the body to move, as I was speaking, move more into that parasympathetic rest and repair mode as it gets to nighttime. That the day stressors aren't so overwhelming and the body is not so taken over by that. Another one that I didn't include here, but some clients love is valerian root. That's another herb that I mostly use as a tool to help people fall asleep while we're working on the root issues of why they're struggling to sleep. And that's another, herb that just helps calm, quiet the nervous system and fall asleep. But what else can you do? I would say that in general, sleep has a lot to do with one's lifestyle, right? And how well you are. Um, what's your sleep hygiene? As Dr. Mark Hyman likes to say, and he's someone who speaks a lot about sleep and the importance of sleep for health, and the importance of sleep hygiene. He's a big fan of respecting the circadian rhythms of the body, right? And that sleep fits into that. And so, what we mean by the circadian rhythm is that the body has an inherent rhythm of the day, and a lot of that follows the sun, it follows the daily rhythm. So, um, getting up around when the sun's getting up, and then going to bed when the sun's going to bed, and only eating when the body is awake and the sun is up. So. Um, Again, this is tying back more into food and food lifestyle, but for some folks, just not eating after dinner, not eating late at night can really make them sleep so much better. Um, and um, and and as he talks about, really respecting that your body needs to wind down, that you need to have a little quiet time, not just going until you expect yourself to just immediately lie down in bed and fall asleep. So starting to wind down a few hours before it's bedtime. Having no screens is a big one because the blue light really does impact our pineal gland where we make our own melatonin. So you can get blue light glasses and things like that to block from the screens, but really taking a break from screens, especially once it gets into those darker hours of the night, especially in winter. It helps get that body ready to rest and repair. Sleeping in the dark. And so using blackout curtains if you need to, not having a clock that you can see. Yeah, not really a big part, not having your phone there in the room. This isn't listed on here, but electromagnetic field exposure can be a major reason why folks are having sleep issues. So if you have Wi-Fi in your house, turning the Wi-Fi off at night. When I learned that, I noticed a change in how my children slept with the Wi-Fi turned off, and not having your phone in the room, or even some folks sleep with the phone right by their heads. It's your alarm clock and things like that. But at the very least, putting it into what's called airplane mode, so that it's not connecting to cell phone towers and emitting that radiation. Um, what I mean by sleeping in a non-toxic room, um, in some ways, uh, res- awareness of the electromagnetic fields. But I wrote that mostly in thinking about you spend 8 hours a day, hopefully, right, in your bed. And so awareness of off gassing of mattresses is a big deal. What kind of cleaning products you use on your sheets, and even the kind of sheets that you have can all make a difference. So, I mean, if you have an older mattress, that mattress will have off-gassed already. But if you're like buying a new mattress, there's a lot of flame retardant off-gassing and other chemical off-gassing, and so investing extra money in a natural foam or a natural latex bed can be huge. Having organic sheets, and using fragrance-free laundry soaps, and not using dryer sheets, which the dryer sheets usually have high fragrance component that can really disrupt the hormonal system. But yeah, I want to also explain a little bit further and explain how it can be so individualized why one is struggling with sleep. So if you take a look at this triangle here, we have poor sleep at the top, right? But down in one corner, we have nutritional deficiencies. In the other corner, we have organ dysfunction. And if you observe with a triangle, all these areas are interconnected. And if you pull one corner of the triangle, it's going to throw off the other two corners. So I'll tell you right now, if you're dealing with any kind of sleep issues, you have nutritional deficiencies and you have organ dysfunctions. Um, and unfortunately, then the more you struggle with your sleep, the more that creates nutritional deficiencies, and then the more that creates organ dysfunction, and vice versa. Then the organ dysfunction causes further nutritional deficiencies, which then worsens your sleep or perpetuates that poor sleep pattern that is happening. And as I was speaking earlier, this can become, a vicious downward cycle where it gets worse and worse, and it starts manifesting in other symptoms. I'll fully own up to, like my, having young children and being up night after night after night, and then needing to get up to come to work. I would start to feel a little crazy, right? And I'd start to see, oh, like I'm having more hormonal issues, or I'm having more digestive issues, and it just start to, like, my body was being so worn down, it would start to get sicker and sicker and manifest in more things. Thankfully, my current babies is my best sleeper, and you work through it, and I'm so grateful to have had ways to support myself so that I can sorry, I'm getting disrupted by a child right now, which is making me lose my train of thought. Yeah, have ways to support my body and support these imbalances, so that the sleep that was happening, that outside factor that was happening, didn't create as much damage as it could have. But what we need to find for each individual is a way to create a stop in that downward cycle, and so that at least these imbalances can stabilize, And then as we identify and correct what's going on, the body can then start to rebuild, and it can start to be an upward cycle of repair. But a huge part of it you have to be willing as an individual to kind of look at yourself, look at your own patterns, your own lifestyle choices, and particularly your food choices, and be willing to address it. Because if you take away poor sleep and you put sugar at the top of this triangle, sugar causes nutritional deficiencies and sugar causes organ dysfunction. And so people being willing to look at their own diet and realize how they are feeding the imbalance is a first start, a first step of starting to repair and starting to heal and get better. Because as I was saying, at the Nutritional Wellness Center, we use this technique called nutrition response testing. And it's a non-invasive system of analyzing the body, in order to determine underlying causes of ill health. And so we correct the body using safe, natural means so that we can identify very specifically, what is that toxicity exposure, or what is that hormonal system that's not repairing or functioning properly and in need of repair. And we can give specific advice about what nutritional needs or changes are needed. Ooh, jumped ahead a little bit. And uh, what support is needed to help heal and repair the body. And we design programs that are very individualized and correct and correct the imbalances that we see. And in this picture here, we have kind of a silly scene of me testing my oldest and then my middle child watching on. And so we work with folks that are as little as in utero or newborns, all the way up to our oldest client now is 97, and so we just meet people where they're at, all different stages of health. And so there are 2 practitioners at the office, myself and Fabiola. And if you have not worked with us yet, I highly encourage you to call and schedule an initial assessment, see how we can help you and see how we can help get to the bottom of sleep issues and help you to take control of your health again. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for me? No? Well, wonderful. I'll hang out here for a few minutes in case you do. You're welcome to use the chat. And I'm going to stop recording for folks who are watching this later.